Oh, we got a super chat last week, so I'm going to read that out as well. I'll wait until he comes in, actually, the person that sent me the super chat. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tartar Zone on this Wednesday evening. Yes, we are starting a little bit early because Dopey Hole here forgot that his team was in the fucking cup final, and that kicks off at 8 o'clock. And to be honest with you, you know, the world could be ending, and I'd be sitting in front of that telly watching that cup final. I wouldn't give a shit, man. Right? So this is why we're starting at 5:30. So I hope you don't mind. But welcome. It's a good movie. The movie is over 2 hours anyway, so we'll be here for a while. Discussing this movie. As you all know, we are doing a night to remember. I should have actually did what John did and changed my avatar. I'm going to actually do that real quickly. Hold on. See if I can get it done. For anybody that doesn't know, this is probably the quintessential Titanic movie. Even though we did have the James Cameron movie, this is the movie that everybody used to talk about. This was the movie that everybody you'd watch this movie. I tell you, this movie is gut wrenching. You know, it's not an easy watch, actually, I have to say. You know, it tells, this one focuses more. Well, I mean, the one that we did watch with James Cameron did focus on a romantic element and stuff, and did focus on people. But this one focuses on the real people and stuff like that. And it's sad. It's sad, right? This is not actually happening the way I wanted it to happen. So I'll just use it that way. And we got half of the Titanic there. Look, a little bit of it there. Right, that's the best I could do. Right, let's bring on our co-host. By the way, I did make a bit of a boo-boo, right? So I have to clear it up right away. So we were doing the movie streams with Alpha Omega originally, and then everything happened, and we stopped doing them. And Alpha's been working for the past month or so. So I've got two co-hosts in reality. So Real Super Doctor and Alpha Omega will be my co-host. Now, there will be times that John can turn up, and there will be times that Alpha can turn up. So it kind of works out that we have the two of them on board. Now, I don't know if Alpha is actually joining us today. I have sent him an email. So I'll send him a quick message, and then we'll get started with this movie. But let's bring on my co-host. It's the one and only Real Super Doctor.
Hey Noel, how you doing?
Not too bad.
I think it's thundery rain here.
Yeah, our weather's not bad. Actually, it's a bit warm, but it's going to rain apparently. So yeah.
I see. The avatar was kind of a bit small. It never gave you the full avatar with the.
Yeah, well, it'll only cut it in half. You can get all of these editors that can edit them into little avatars, but then you wouldn't really see it. And at least we can see a little bit of it. So sent you an email. I just want him to know so he knows he got his email. Right, I've got the film ready anyway. I found it on that site. Lucky enough, I have to say.
There's actually a recolorized version of it, and it's quite good. But the kind of color version kind of fluctuates in a way because
I'd rather watch it in the black and white. To be honest with you, that's how I saw the movie originally. So, So we've only got 3 people watching right now.
It just depends on people's mood at the moment, and if they want to watch and watch along with us, they can do that. But if they're too busy or they're having their dinner,
Yeah, well, I did put a poll up on Twitter, everybody, for the choice of the next movie. So I'll tell you how the poll is doing and what movie right now is winning. I did put it in the link description to my latest video that I threw up. So if you can vote, please vote. I also put the NTA voting thing up as well. If you haven't voted on that, please do. Go and pick your favourite shows, as I said. Doctor Who is in there and Jodie Whittaker is in there, but I've looked at the competition that they have. I mean, Doctor Who's not going to beat Bridgerton anyway. I know that's been a huge program, so that and listen, Cheryl's watched Bridgerton, so I haven't, but I can tell you now by her reaction, um, it probably will be that show that'll win the awards. To be quite honest, it was the same when what was that other bleeding big ITV show that everybody used to watch that feckin' everybody spoke about? It just recently ended. They did a movie, didn't they, of it or something? The period drama that they did on ITV, the big one, the other big one. Does nobody remember?
no, I don't.
The one in the gaff, the one with feckin' your woman that was the nun in feckin' Sister Act.
Oh, Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey. Yeah, that's the
If
one.
you would have said Harry Potter, I would have been on you.
Right. Well, that show, Bridgerton seems to be as big as that show. So there's no way Doctor Who. So there's no way Doctor Who's winning in that category. Then I've looked at the category where she has competition and she's up against Vicky McClure and other ladies there that I think are way better that will win. So I don't. She's up against Vicky McClure out of Line of Duty. A couple of actresses that I don't know because I don't see their shows. But I know them. So far, right, so the two movie choices were The Goonies or Short Circuit, right? So we've only got 54 votes so far. There's 5 days and 8 hours left. The result will be Tuesday because obviously the movie will be Wednesday. So far with 61% of the vote, it's The Goonies. And 39% at the moment, it's Short Circuit. And what we do is basically we basically we're gonna when Alpha is here, we'll have a 3 movie choice. Right now, I just put the two movie choice. John gave me a list of movies as well that he'd like to see being done as well. Some whopper ones there as well, I have to say. You know, the Home Alone. I'm not sure about Home Alone 3 though.
Home Alone 3 is a bit kind of. It's not as funny as Home Alone 1 or 2. It's a different kid playing it. And
yeah, I've seen it. It's about the car. There's something this bleeding toy car.
Yeah, it's actually this kind of chip or something like that.
Chip in the car.
These guys are after it and that. And
the kid that's playing the part is his deadly kid. I've seen him in other stuff, and he's a good little actor. The problem is that we associate with Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin, and it'll never be anybody else but Macaulay Culkin. But look, if people are, when I put it up for a vote, if people want to watch Home Alone 3, we will watch Home Alone 3. We certainly do Home Alone. Actually, I want to do, because I watched it recently, but I'd like us to do at some stage the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. Now, I know most people are only fans of the first movie, but I actually like the other 2 movies. I really do. I'm not going to lie. I like that trilogy. And I also want to do the 48-hour movie franchise as well. So you got 48 hours and another 48 hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. So we'll do all of them. Listen, we're going to be doing loads of movies. John will get to choose movies. Alpha will get to choose movies, and I will get to choose movies. That's the way I've decided to do it this time. I won't just pick the movie because it's not fair. Because I might watch like a movie that they don't like. So that way it's balanced. That if there's one week they're watching a movie I don't like, then I know then in a week or two I'm going to be able to pick a movie that I enjoy watching. But in fairness, I think every movie that we will be watching on this channel we're all going to enjoy anyway. I don't think there'll be a problem there. We've got 5 people watching now, so it's slowly climbing up.
Doesn't matter whether you have 2 people
I know.
or 100. You always get the same amount of effort.
Of course I do. Of course I do. But what we'll do is, John, I think we'll just start and we'll get into this movie.
Yeah.
I think what I don't know what the story is with Alpha, but I have sent him an email. I've let him know. If he pops in, then that's great. He could be in bed or he could be working. Yeah, so it was my boo-boo. So I just wanted to explain that at the start. That I made a bit of a boo-boo. So I have 2 co-hosts, but that works out better now because John has said there might be some Wednesdays where he mightn't be able to show up, and there will be some that Alpha won't be able to show up on. So it kind of works out that way. So yeah, will we get started on this movie?
Yep.
Right then. Would you like to have the honors of doing? Oh shit! What did I do there? What did I do? I'm an idiot.
I'll put the video link in the private chat now.
But no! Where did it go? There it is. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, then no wonder the PlayStation's been a little bit sluggish. I was wondering why. There's about 20 fucking windows open. Right. Oh, here, get away with this fucking nonsense, man. Every time. I'm not interested. Nanad, would you like a woman? No, thank you. I've got one. Fucking idiots. Look, it's going to open and it's going to do this shit again. I had this set up and all, man. I literally have to play this shit straight away. What is all of this? Russian sites and everything, man. Don't get me wrong, we like the old Russians, but like, come on, leave it up.
Yeah.
Right. Get back to 000, you fucking idiot. Come on. There we go. Right, I'm on 000, right? So hold on, I'll big screen this, right? And do the countdown before. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, do this fucking countdown before it goes all haywire on me. Right, go for it, John.
Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press play now.
Oh my God, it's at the opening up another window. It's at the opening up another window. It's grand though, it is playing. You fuck, I swear, this PlayStation.
I think it's the operator, not the.
I think you should get an ad blocker for it. You know,
I
one of the ad
know,
blockers.
but it's not really that bad, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Why does this say ITV Entertainment? Oh, I thought I put the ITV TV show on. I was going to go fucking mental there.
Yeah.
Right, the Rank Organisation presents.
Yep.
Yes, we are here. Welcome,
William
everybody.
McQuitty film.
That's it, everybody. Welcome to A Night to Remember. If you haven't seen this movie about the Titanic, it's absolutely fascinating.
I really love this bit because they've got the ship workers just waiting there for its launch. I mean, but this scene here, it's totally inaccurate because it never happened to the real Titanic. They never christened it.
Yeah, I know. There wasn't time.
There wasn't time. They just put it, and men get killed during the launch. So the man on the right is Bruce Ismay, and the man on the left is Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer.
Yeah. I have to say, for a movie made back in the 50s,
Yeah,
and the early 50s at that, I mean, the effects in this are absolutely fantastic.
yep,
Now, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. See, again, me dad plays a big part in all of this
yeah,
because he was a fan of all of these yokes. I learned about Titanic through him. Same with Doctor Who. It's actually weird. And Kenneth
yeah,
Moore. See, they used to spell his name wrong back in the day.
yeah. And you can see Honor Blackman's in it, and all the. I mean, there's actors and actresses that's been in Doctor Who that's been in the.
Yeah.
Lawrence Naismith is the captain. Jeffrey Belden.
Yeah. Right now we've got the credits because back in those days,
Yeah, Andrew Keir.
they
Who's
show
in
the
the-
movie while the credits. Yeah, there's loads of people.
Yep.
Right, I can't have you barking during this movie stream now, Ted. If there's dogs outside, there's nothing that can be done, buddy. He's getting very yeah, Cheryl says he's starting to run around, but we don't want him to be doing that. He's still like, he's a lot better. Like he's standing up now. He can
Well, that's
stand
good.
up. But and he could stand up like for a very long time. The thing about it is we to ease him back in. But Ted, because he knows now that he has that little bit of energy now and spark, he thinks he can run around like he used to. But he's not supposed to in reality. It's going to be very hard to keep this dog under control. Babe, what's on the... All right. I got a bit of a fright there. Do you want to sit up beside Daddy while we watch Titanic? Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Come here. Come here. Turn around. 1912 it is. It's 1912, Teddy bear. Now, there you go, buddy. You sit on that. No, Daddy's having his coffee. No, come on. Come on.
I like this scene here when they're on the train and
Yeah.
they're discussing it through the newspaper.
Ah, brilliant. I actually have the subtitles on as well. That's brilliant. Cheryl won't be able to read them though. They're very fucking small, bleeding. Look at them for subtitles, Cheryl. Look at how small they are. There's always been a debate though which ship was the nicest, the Mauritania or
Yeah.
the Titanic.
And it was the Lusitania as well that
and
was
the Lusitania. Yeah,
it was getting
Lusitania is
attention
also
of its time.
famous. Yeah, Lusitania is off the coast of Cork here in Ireland. It's actually weird. Lusitania, as I said, sunk off and the Titanic was
Yeah.
the last port of call of Titanic before it sunk. Ireland was its last port of call. We must be a jinx.
Well, it was always said that she was okay until she left Ireland. I mean, I could believe it.
But see the way they're even talking now, folks. See the attitude of them, right? It was like, man has conquered God and all of this. But that's the way they really, really talk because this was a
Yeah.
marvel to them. To build the biggest ship in the world was just like, it was they never thought they could do something like that. Now they build them for fun.
Yeah. Now this is taking you to the
immigrants,
first
yeah.
class. This is taking you to the first class. This is the highest of society. This is the richest of the rich.
Yeah, and they were
And
just
you can
talking
see
about
them with
the
their,
immigrants.
you can see them with horse-drawn carriages and all that, and you can
Yeah.
see them So I would think this would be the likes of a baroness or a lady. It could actually be
Or a
Lady Duff
lady in
Gordon.
waiting, it could be. She could be a lady in waiting as well. Well, look at the
Yeah,
bleeding
yeah.
force she's wearing. She's definitely well, that's his wife. She looks younger than him, so
So only a few of them had cars back in the day, and they were Ford pop. I think they were Ford cars back in the
they
day, but
were Ford. Ford was very because Ford was
so there was kind of far and few between.
look at
Now
this, man.
look at
Look
all the
at
children here. They're the workhouse kids, and they're just basically just waving them on.
like how they behaved back then. Like
Yeah,
bow to your masters.
yeah.
So they were basically waving them off to make sure that you got their turkey for Christmas.
Yep,
I mean,
that's where it would
the
happen
caste
in
system in
1912.
England, right? I mean, in England, it was very in the UK, I should say, the British people. It was very back in those early days. It was class driven, wasn't it? It was very class
Yeah,
driven. Like
and
people
here
knew
we
if you
have the
were poor, people
immigrants,
knew if you were rich, and people knew if you were middle class. There was, you know, ah, he
and
plays a good.
and and this is where the real characters come in, is because of the immigrants. I mean, this is them. They're setting off for a new life, and they basically don't know that there's danger just right in front of them. I mean, how can they? I mean, they're nervous about their first voyage on a ship that is deemed unsinkable. I mean, huge and a new life, a new world, all to them.
It's like, you're right. I mean, they were going off for a better future, and little did some
Yeah.
of them know that they'd never come home again. It's fucking sad. Now, the Majestic is interesting because the Majestic was the ship that Cheryl's grandparents were on when they came to America.
I mean, the actor in this is a
Well,
well-known
great
actor,
grandparents,
Kenneth
I should
Moore.
say, I think. Was that
Kenneth Moore.
grandparents? Yeah, he's brilliant actor.
Yeah.
They've got a stellar cast for 1950. I think it was 52 or something. That's a
I
stellar
think it's
cast.
1958.
Oh, 58. Sorry, stellar
Yeah.
cast for 58, man. Even some of the actresses they have in it were big at the time, So
And even when the set was built and all the cast was on the set, Captain Smith and all that was on the set of the Titanic. I mean, the survivors, the existing survivors of the Titanic came along to see it. So when Edith Russell saw Captain Smith for the first time, is Lawrence Naismith. I mean, she thought that really was Captain Smith. I mean, the actor was so identical. You can see it. You can see it in him when you get to see him in the scene. So there's Captain Smith there.
it's
It's
sad
uncanny.
because him himself as well, like, we will never know what decisions were made on that bridge of that time. Apparently, there was people there when he received the ice warnings and stuff. We'll never really know what pressure he was under. Was he under any pressure, or was it just arrogance? It's sad because a lot of people died, and he died as well.
Yeah.
And his name, let's be honest, his name, he takes a lot of the blame, and rightly
Yeah.
so. He is the captain of the ship, but we don't know if he truly was to blame. What pressure was he under? Did White
Well,
Star Line put him under pressure? Did Bruce
it
say,
seems like he was just following orders of what was to be done at the time.
now, how did they do this? Was this a model shot?
This is a model shot, and it was basically in a big, huge tank. I don't know if it was Ealing or wherever, but it was a huge big tank that they filmed the Titanic in as well. It was a big, huge pond as well. Tank.
Like, I like this movie because it goes into detail of all of these people, but not
Yeah,
just the what you call it, the first class, but to concentrate on other parts of the ship as well. Now, this has been debated for years about the Californian. Now, recently, I think the captain of the Californian was finally exonerated of any wrongdoing because wasn't their ships supposed to be even closer, and they ignored it.
yeah.
And he was on the other side of that ice field waiting for the ice to move along. But I think he was, but he went to his death,
Yeah.
like, blaming himself. But during the war, when war broke out, this captain, wherever the fella is of this ship, I forget his name, he ended up, during the war, he had his own ship and he rescued POWs from the war. So,
I think it was Captain Lord of the Californian. I think that's what his name was.
was it? Look
Yeah.
at that. That is deadly the way that model. Have to be honest. For
That
58,
was the first scene of this movie my papa showed me way back in, I think it was 1984 or 83. I don't know. I couldn't be precise on the date,
yeah.
but I remember my papa coming in. He was getting ready for his lunch, and he says, "Just sit down in your nana's chair until your lunch gets cooked for you." And I was just wanting to go through to my gran and see what she was doing, but he said he had a wee bit of cutting from a newspaper, and he said he wanted a model of the Titanic, and he was going to go and send away for it or something like that. And I said, "What's the Titanic?" And then they put the old black and white film on, the old VCR recorders, and it was like playing it to the model scene and then pressing it and pausing it, and then says, and then it just pointed at the television and says, "That's the Titanic," and they explained all about it to me. And it was like ever since, me and my papa kept talking about the Titanic and that, and built models of it and that, and I could remember the smell of the paint from the models. It was like back in the day, you had these wee metal tins of paint and that with the models, and it were absolutely stinking. I mean, you used to come into the kitchen, and when my papa was building the model and painting it, you could smell it from a mile away. It was that strong.
There we go now. Now they're down below. See, this is why, and the James Cameron movie did highlight it, but
Yeah.
he didn't. I can understand why he wanted the romance element, right?
Yeah.
But it still annoys me because I think it was unnecessary. There was the people on board the ship deserve the respect. You don't need to be making. You don't need to be making up characters.
Uh-huh. So I mean, these characters are quite good as it is. He plays a major part in it, and he actually he's on the stern as it sinks, and there's a wee kind of love interest between these two, but when they depart, you can see them departing, and they can separate because of the ship
Yeah.
sinking.
But the thing
And
about it is, it's not the main focus. They
no,
focus on other people in this movie, whereas in the James Cameron one, he focused primarily on Jack and Rose.
yeah, I think he done that so he could just bring in a new audience to Titanic.
I know. I
Because
get why he did it. I do.
yeah,
I do. I still like the movie. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't. I mean, it won the awards that it won because it was a good movie, no matter what anybody says. It's
yeah.
just, I prefer these type of Titanic movies. Do you remember SOS Titanic?
Yes, I do. That was one that was in the late 1979, I think it
Yeah.
was.
What did you
With
think of that
Cloris
one?
Leachman.
What did you think of that one?
Well, I thought it was just focusing on the Queen Mary quite a lot. I mean I mean they didn't. I think it was just for a TV movie that,
Yeah.
and basically it was just reusing the Queen Mary as the Titanic.
Oh, there she is.
Molly Brown. So it was interesting how Molly Brown actually came onto the Titanic. She was board on the Titanic from Queenstown, and she was on the Nomadic, and the Nomadic sailed out to the Titanic, transporting them out to the Titanic, and boarded from the Nomadic from there.
Yeah. Look at that boiler room.
I mean, they went to all the detail of this. I mean, the detail of the boiler room is absolutely amazing, and it is identical to the Titanic in
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
is
ways.
because we've seen pictures,
Yeah,
and it is.
and I was also watching a documentary in this, and it was like how they were doing this and that, and how they were lighting the boilers and that, and it was just like gas lights and all that, and they were shoving coal into it and that. This is interesting here. We're in the Marconi room
Yeah.
with Jonathan Phillips and Harold Bride, and you can see they went to the details of the Marconi transmitter.
Have to be honest, everybody, you could tell even in this movie that other ships, other captains, other crews, they were all excited but also nervous about Titanic's maiden voyage. You could tell that there was a lot riding on it, you know?
Yeah,
And it was because it was a remarkable piece of engineering and it was finally on its maiden voyage. Like that's I mean the ice warnings always baffle me why a captain would and I know they tried to defend him over the years by saying, well, he didn't break the speed limit of the day when he was going through the ice field. But in fairness, I don't know why you'd even take that risk in the first place. It baffled me for years and it still has. Why a captain of all that years of experience and his crew, or nobody on his crew,
you can see
even,
the ice warnings piling up here,
yeah, and nobody's.
and basically the Marconi transmitter was used by the passengers to kind of put their messages
Yeah.
across, and that's I think that's what kind of came in the way of the kind of seriousness of the situation.
Now they did have said about the lookouts that
Yeah,
even if the lookouts had binoculars, right? Even the night in question, that it was so cold that even if
yeah,
they had got the binoculars, they wouldn't have been able to see the ice properly because their eyes, because you know the way your eyes always stay kind
yeah,
of wet. Well, because it was so cold and the breeze was blowing at them, it'd make their eyes very foggy, kind of effect.
yeah.
So they wouldn't have been able to see the ice, even if they had the binoculars. So I don't blame the lookouts anyway. But every Titanic movie has used the famous line, "Iceberg are dead ahead."
Yeah.
Right? He used it for this. James Cameron then used it for his movie, and I think it's in a couple of other Titanic movies as well. It's the same line, iceberg dead ahead. The class system in is just startling.
Yeah.
We're going back to that now, John. What?
And then we're going back to the iceberg warnings piling up. So they're getting put aside while I assume that's Harold Bride, and he's
he was doing the
putting
personal messages instead.
personal
wasn't he?
messages. Yep.
Yeah, he was sending out all the personal messages instead of relaying the fucking ice warnings. There was a lot of mistakes made.
Yeah. So the ice warnings would be coming in too late for the captain.
Yeah.
So there's something else going on here. There really is. So whoever has been given the orders to Harold Bright, just to kind of take in the personal messages that are sent over the Marconi, it's something that should be raised in debate.
I just don't get why you would do that. Why you would sail through ice.
And even the Californian here, they've spotted ice, so they're stuck in an ice field. So that's probably one of the reasons why they couldn't go to the Titanic's assistance, because they were stuck in an ice field. Or even if their Marconi was switched on, or at the time they could hear the Titanic's distress. I mean, they couldn't go out the ice field because they were surrounded by ice. So there was a lot of things coming against them.
So there, the captain of the Californian clearly went and told the operator of the Californian to alert Titanic. But here was the thing as well, right? They've even said that they reckon that some of the ships in the positions that they thought they were in, they actually weren't in those positions either, and that's what led to a lot of confusion.
Yeah. So at the time that before the iceberg, the Titanic hit the iceberg, Captain Smith was already having his bath and getting ready for his bed and all that, and he was kind of woken up by the noise of the scraping of the ship. And I think this is a better film than the 19. I think it's 1953 Titanic with Barbara Stanwyck. But they're also talking about the speed of the ship here.
Yeah.
There you are, there's the third class meeting the second class. It was to highlight the confusion because of how large the ship was.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing about people that had alcohol in their systems,
Yeah,
right, were more than likely to survive than people that didn't, because obviously if you drink a brandy or whiskey or whatever they were drinking, it does warm you up. It does keep the blood flowing. So
well, a lot of them in the first class would be drunk as well. I mean, it was like a celebration. You know, they were going to New York. They were probably going to start another life in New York themselves. I mean, they had businesses over New York. They had, and it was like it was like a fun time just to, you know, it was just like a a possibility there could be danger, or you know, something ahead you didn't know, and then it happened. And
See, I don't blame the Californian here. I really
no,
don't. I think they did everything by the book.
yeah,
It was clearly something that was going on Titanic.
yeah.
Like, look at this fella now.
And there was also a rumor about the Titanic signal strength to the Californian, and the Californian to the Titanic. I mean, they were very strong, and they were easily could pick them up. See, there were the super rich and the elite on the Titanic. They basically were having business shares with the railway companies and all that, and steel companies and all that, and they were going to New York to do more dealings and businesses. So it was bankers and a business trips. So
Yeah.
they had, so it was basically they're traveling for money, for new
Now, I just
businesses.
want to say something there. There was an interesting scene there. So your man's going to bed, but
Yeah,
the mistake that he did make is he knocked off the machine,
yeah,
right? So when he did go asleep and Titanic did send out that distress signal,
hmm
because they turned out not to be the closest ship. It turned out years later when it was investigated that there was actually ships closer, right? But the Californian did get the brunt, and he did under the British inquiry.
yeah.
The captain of the Californian was heavily
Oh,
criticised. But right,
something's happened here.
fairness, yes, he turned off the machine, right? That was a mistake. They should never have done that. That's a no. And again, it's another one of those things at those times that just baffled me. I mean, even during the war, do you remember they were getting ships World War I? They were getting ships to sail across the Atlantic. Like, that'd be unheard of today. You wouldn't have that happening today if there was a war at sea, right? You wouldn't have these companies saying, right, we're going to sail our ships with passengers across the fucking ocean. I mean, look, man, the dining. I mean, this is just fucking ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. The lapse of luxury, man, on a ship that it's just the way they waited on them hand and foot, John, because you had a bit of money. It's funny how you're treated different when you have money. You still there? Oh, it looks like we've lost Real Super Doctor. He'll be back. He'll be back. He'll be back. His internet. It's probably his internet, or he needs to reboot his computer. So right now we've got the Californian on the edge of the ice field there now. They're just waiting it out until the next morning. As I said, the captain of the Californian was heavily criticised. And in fairness, you know, there were more ships there and there were ships closer. But of course, at the time, this wasn't known. A lot of their positions as well, because you hear if you're watching the movie with us, you'll hear the radio operator, the Californian, when your man was coming in. He says, this is our location, the best of our ability. So basically, they didn't really know where they were. And here's Real Super Doctor back.
Yeah, I get knocked off there.
There you go. So, like, again, the California captain, following protocol, can't get in touch with Titanic. So now they're using the light signals that they used to use before SOS was a thing. So they're going to give them another warning, and they ignore it. Like Captain Smith is a vet. I know he was in his Batonal and his crew, but I tell you, it seemed to be a very lax crew.
Yeah.
Look at this.
I mean, they can put wee small things in like that, and I mean, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, you can leave that to the imagination. And there's Honor Blackman there.
Yeah. So it was her husband that just went into the other room to have him to probably was.
Yeah. Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spot the iceberg.
Yeah, but look at the snow on their faces and their eye. I like
Yeah.
the way.
That's ice.
They reckon though if they had hit it straight on, like
Yeah.
it would have caused damage, but it would have stayed afloat. Yeah, as you mentioned as well, though, would have killed some people. But
Yeah, if they went
at
ahead
the
on
end of the
collision.
day, killing what 20, 30 people or saving. Oh, we got David Travels Through Time in the chat. How are you, Dave?
But there was actually 200 people in the bow. I mean, there was crew of 200 people in board of the bow. I mean, if that would be 200 people killed. And even if the ship survived, I mean, the captain would have got the blame anyway. He would have been, I don't know.
This is it. This is it. This is it.
You can see it shuddering. I mean, that's not bad special effects for 1958.
But again, even in this movie, you don't see a big tear, you know? See what I mean? You don't see a tear. It's just... And that was the thing though, guys, right? If you didn't get out in time, you were stuck. You were basically going to a watery grave. It was like, get out. We've ran aground in Newfoundland. You're not even anywhere. That's what happened. That's what they thought happened, though. Is that it flipped the propeller blade, and that's why it... Oh, we've lost Real Super Doctor again. So now we got the lads in the boiler room, and the water is rising up, so they have to damp the boilers, or there'll be a lot of... Now, Thomas Andrews, they're going in to see Thomas Andrews.
So they're going to inspect the damage.
Yeah.
Done.
His face tells a picture in this scene, though, when he does go down to inspect the damage. He knows that he's already made the calculations. Even in the James Cameron one, I love that where Thomas Andrews got down, and then he makes the calculations. He says, right, the ship is going to sink in such and such a time. And he was right, actually. He got it clearly. He got it almost spot on. He said in about 2 hours it'd be under the sea, and 2 hours and 20 minutes later it was under the sea. So he wasn't far off with his calculations by the level of the water. He kind of knew.
So that's them playing with the ice. I mean, but the steerage passengers playing with the ice. I mean, that did happen. And actually, in reality, first-class passengers were wanting to take part in playing with ice.
I mean, the number 2 is still in bed.
Yeah.
Like, you think the captain would have bloody...
Yeah.
There you go. He already knows it's doomed.
Yeah. Well, some of the crew thinks the ship's thrown a propeller blade, and that's why the ship's shuddering the way it has been doing. But as the engines are stopped, the real Titanic, after the collision, a few minutes after the collision, I mean, they started up again. Now, I don't know if this was true or not, but they were supposed to have started up the engines again and started moving the Titanic again, but they realised that it was just bringing in more water, so they just put it back to stop. You can see by his expression in his face. I mean, it's like he knows. Now, this is the gash theory that went along the hull. They believed that the Titanic was torn apart below the waterline. A 500-foot gash. They didn't realise it was just the separation in the hull because of popped rivets.
He's doing the calculations now.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. See, it wasn't very fast, but he thought it was a 300-foot gash. If it was a 300-foot gash, sure, it'd be faster than that.
Yeah.
It would. It was like Morse code the way it hit the ship. But because there was a fire, now that we know, there was actually a fire raging on Titanic even before it set sail. It had weakened the steel. So it punctured it like one of those paper punchers. That's what it was like. It was like Morse code. Because if it was a 300-foot gash, there's no way it would have stayed afloat for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
No.
Oh, look at their face. They just couldn't believe it. They just couldn't believe it. They were like, if that fire hadn't raged, I don't think it would have sunk, to be quite honest. The steel wouldn't have been weakened. And, you know, I think it would have brushed off. It caused a bit of damage to it, all right. But I think what would have happened was, in reality, is that the water pumps would have kept it up, because I don't think it would have been as fatally wounded as it was. They might have been able to even stay there, have the water pumps working until ships came along to tow it back to either Belfast or wherever was closer, Belfast or New York. I think New York at this stage was closer.
I mean, they had good hydraulic pumps on board the ship. I mean, it could pump out a vast lot of water from the hull. I mean, they could have done that, but it was just because where that bulkhead had been, and that hit the one that separated the separated the compartment that was actually flooding. That weakened bulkhead that was supposed to be weakened by the coal fire incident. I mean, the water would have just the rush of water coming in and the pressure would just have just gave that bulkhead away. We can actually see in this that a bulkhead gives away and the water comes in. And even
That's
Bruce
what I
Ismay
mean.
at
They
this
didn't
point.
even the arrogance there.
Yeah,
They didn't even. They thought they would have been. In fairness, they should have been rescued. Though that's the thing, because they were. But here's another thing that was flawed. They had new technology on Titanic, right? They also
yeah,
had the flares as well. But when they were shooting the flares up, ships did actually think they were fireworks and ignored it. Those ships were so close that listen, all the passengers of Titanic could have been saved.
yeah.
Easy. This is the tragedy of the whole thing.
And the empty canisters of the flares were actually found in the seabed. And they were different colours. They
Yeah.
weren't all the white colour as they were trying to make them out as they
That's
were.
why they thought it was a party. Yeah, they thought it was a
Yeah,
celebration.
yeah,
You're right, John. And that was the fucking problem because they were supposed to be all white flares, weren't they?
yep.
It's your fault as well, you tick. Ignored nice warnings, you
Yeah.
bleeding fool, you.
So it's just a mixture of arrogance and human error. I mean, they took this. They thought this ship was totally indestructible because of the publicity that was around it and all that. And but they should have taken the lesson from the Olympic. I mean, the accident with the HMS Hawk and the damage that was done to the Olympic. But there wasn't anything taken from that. So basically, Titanic was just pure arrogance. And Eva Hart's mother said about the ship being unsinkable. Well, that's flying in the face of God. So she can have doubts about sleeping in the Titanic that at night. So that's why she was up late at night and sleeping during the day. And next to no passenger that sailed on that ship, they had a strange vibe about it. I mean, you could actually tell in this as well. Now, these people didn't want to leave the ship because it's a warm ship, and they didn't want to get out into the cold, and they didn't want to wear these uncomfortable life jackets, and they didn't want to get into a boat. I mean, they thought that they would be safer aboard the Titanic until help came.
And highlights as well. Remember, there wasn't just English-speaking people
Yeah,
on this ship. There was a lot of foreigners that were on the ship and they didn't
yeah,
understand. And remember, they're on a strange ship as well, going to a strange country. You know, I actually watching a documentary I was on this ship, and there's a little there's a little village in the back of the arsehole of nowhere in some mountains in some like boglands country where they lost like 15 of their people that had actually managed to
Yeah.
get on Titanic to sail to the new world to make a better life for themselves. It was the village that lost the most people or something. It was fascinating. It was telling the stories of all of these passengers that we didn't know about. You know, the unknown passengers.
Yeah.
Look at these idiots.
I mean, they don't believe him. You see, that's the arrogance. Everybody knows the ship can't sink.
Yeah, but here was the thing, right? They never ever said that the ship was unsinkable. What they did say was that the ship was almost unsinkable. But when the press
Yeah.
picked it up, they left out the almost. Right?
Yeah, and that's how it got that kind of reputation of unsinkable.
Yeah.
And that's
So
why the arrogance of the first class and most of
it
the
was the
first class
arrogance of
passengers.
society, though. It was
Yeah.
arrogance of society because let's
Yeah.
be honest, there was a lot
Yeah.
of breakthrough. There was a lot of breakthrough technological things that had happened back then. You know, yeah, it was. You could understand the arrogance was to a certain extent. It's like, you know, when we landed man on the moon though as well, the arrogance around that time period as
Now
well,
this is
you
an
know?
interesting scene coming up here. We have the Carpathia.
Yeah.
And Captain Rostron of the Carpathia received medals for his heroism
Yeah.
for saving the lives of the Titanic. And he got awarded. He got awarded with them because of his bravery and his duty.
By the way, I was going through Mary Claire article, right? And I was looking at the top disaster movies
Yeah,
of all time, and this features, right?
yeah,
But before they did the review, it told you like if the movie contained anything that insulted you. Like
yeah,
it was like they put a warning, so they said in Night to Remember, there's a bit of misogyny and sexism. Right? I was
yeah.
like, are you for fucking real, man?
And
Leave it alone.
there's also a doll, a black doll
I
in it
seen
as
it.
well.
Yeah, I seen it. Yeah, the god. What did they call them?
I think they were goalies, but back then these were the kind of things, and there were things in the 1940s, but I don't know if they were in 1912. There's it could be an error. Captain Rostron. Just acts on orders immediately. I mean, that goes to show you. The humanity in this. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's why I love this movie. You can see the humanity, human nature, the human side of things. I mean,
yeah,
the captain, as soon as the Carpathia captain gets a lot of praise, actually, and rightly so, because he was the forward one, the furthest ships away, and he got there 20 minutes after she sunk, though.
now in the real Titanic, I believe that Captain Smith had a breakdown. I mean, I think when he realised that there was a problem and it was too great and a lot of people were going to die, and I I think he reached a point that of no return. I mean, it's what happened to Captain Smith afterwards, because all they just saw is him disappear. I mean, there was one reports that he was swimming in the water and he was carrying a baby to a lifeboat, and he handed the one of the lifeboats a baby, and he swam away, and he says, "I'm going to follow that ship." Now I don't know if that's true or not, but there is a big mystery what actually happened to Captain Smith. See the first rocket being fired. You can see Bruce Ismay there. He's helping out. I mean, Bruce Ismay did actually help out. I mean,
That's the
he
thing.
wanted.
He does get a lot of stick, and rightly
Yeah.
so, because his actions after the fact where he tried to get the staff and people together to try and change the narrative was scummy. But
Yeah,
to say that he didn't do anything on the ship is wrong,
yeah.
because he did do a lot of good on the ship, but he's always going to be remembered as the bad guy, which is it is kind of sad. But because he did help, he did try redeem himself. If he did play a part in asking the captain to speed up,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. A lot of women wouldn't leave without their husbands.
No. And I mean, there was no alarm on the ship. There was no alarm bell. There was nothing. They never even had a lifeboat drill. They were due to have a lifeboat drill on the 15th of April. And they never had a lifeboat drill, so they didn't know where to kind of muster. So they kind of mustered all outside the boat deck, and they just didn't know what boat to go to. Basically, they were just guided to go to what boat.
Like, I mean, even the ship is tilted there, John, right?
Yeah,
And they're saying, like, your man is saying, look, there's some list on this ship right now, and he's like,
yeah.
the other fella is like, oh, but it's grand. This ship is not going to sink. It's like, what the fuck?
But in the real Titanic, there was a list to port, so the ship was kind of tilting a wee bit, and Captain Smith knew that the ship was tilting a bit, because the watertight doors were shut, and because that he wanted the flooding to be free flowing throughout the ship, so he ordered the watertight doors to open. And I mean, as you can see in some documentaries, I mean, there was coalmen, boiler engineers, and that they get trapped, and when the watertight doors actually closed, one of them get their leg trapped in a door. So I mean, it was really they were the first victims of the Titanic sinking, because a few of them died instantly. And imagine going through one of those metal doors and it just coming down right on top of you. I mean,
See the way he's real calm with his wife. He's
Yeah.
like, he knows the ship's going to sink, but he's saying it in a way to where I just want you to get on.
yeah,
See? I think we should do what the captain says, and now she
Yeah.
knows. But she said it in a way that doesn't panic her. Very good by the husband. But was he the husband that was creeping into your woman's room earlier?
no, that was a different one.
All right.
That was a man with a mustache.
Ah.
You can see that teddy bear there, the goalie.
There it is.
I mean,
there, yeah.
I don't know why anybody hasn't said anything about that. And even back then, it was a bit controversial to have a doll like that.
But you were still fucking serving champagne.
Yeah, they did that throughout the night. I mean, the kid looks like it's fun and games. I mean, it's not.
I know.
But there was no panic aboard the Titanic till the very last minute. She's an amazing character, that Molly Brown.
Yeah.
In reality,
The
is as
unsinkable
well as
Molly Brown. I mean,
the fiction.
she's just as famous as the fucking ship.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. A lot of the passengers were getting there.
Yeah. I mean, they were locked in. They were locked in and they were told to stay in there. Well, the first class and second class, well, the first class got onto lifeboats and the second class got onto lifeboats. Well, when the lifeboats all disappeared and there was just two collapsibles down in the forward deck, I mean, they had absolutely no chance. Absolutely no chance of surviving. But a majority of third class passengers managed to escape. You know, they found ways to escape right through it to the boat deck. So most of them did get through. But it was a bit too late for them. So these engineers worked tirelessly to keep the Titanic afloat, to keep the power going,
Lights
and
on,
to
yeah,
keep.
I know.
I mean, they kept it going for as long as they possibly could, and they worked until the water was right up to their ankles. Captain Rostron was very serious there, because he knows that. Now this is interesting. This is the baker, and this is the baker that survived the Titanic. I mean, this represents the baker, the drunk baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still nothing from the ship, and it's moving away.
Yep. And they're sitting watching the rockets being fired. And there's the baker.
Yeah.
He's away to get pissed. He's got his wee
Yeah,
bottle of
they had him
whiskey.
in the James Cameron movie as well.
Yeah.
He was pissed on the ship. Sure, he
Yeah.
survives it. He survives as well. It was the drink that kept him alive, they reckon.
Yeah. And it was told that he was in the back of the stern, and he rode the stern off as it sank,
Yeah.
and he never even got his head wet. I don't know if that was true or not, but he just rode off it as it went down. So I suppose the drink did keep him warm. I think that's been debated as well. It could be a possibility.
There's not indecision. He told you to get on the lifeboat, you fucking arrogant twats. Get on the lifeboat.
Put our life belts on. Tell me that. See them trying to find another way out. So there was a lot of people who were scared of even going
Yeah.
into a boat. I mean, there was a big, huge gap between the deck and the boat, and it's a huge drop to the ocean. A small group of the third class. But imagine if that ship sinking and you're trapped below decks and all that, and how vast that ship was and all that, and different corridors, different passages, and I mean, they all looked the same and all that, and you didn't know where you were going and all that. I mean, you could get lost aboard the Titanic. So he's got to convince his wife to go on the boat.
That's what I mean. A lot of men died. You men get a lot of stick now today, but a lot of
Yeah.
men died on Titanic. You know, husbands.
It wasn't the fact that Captain Smith said women and children first. It was women. It wasn't women and children only. It was women and children first. So if it was the women and children got onto the boats first, then it was the men to follow.
Yeah.
So the men weren't just the ones to stay behind. I mean, there was nobody that should have stayed behind. I mean, that was just I don't know if there were, that was just pure dedication, just letting the women and children go.
That's sad, man.
You know,
That is
the
sad.
the worst is yet to come in this
I
film.
know, that's what I mean, but that just got me right there, man.
Yeah. But imagine you're about 9 years old, you're sitting in one of these boats, and then you're waving bye bye to your dad, and you're never going to see him again. I mean, that must be really that must have been really really difficult for these people. And a lot of women lost their husbands. I mean, and they survived. They survived that disaster, and they didn't have a life afterwards. I mean, the some of the rich ones went from rich to poor because they lost all their possessions. They all lost all their belongings. I mean, they took everything with them.
Yeah.
I mean, their prized possessions and that. Now that's an interesting scene here. Is the third class seeing the first class, the first time But the third class accommodations were very kind of acceptable. I mean, they were very kind of, what do you say? They're very kind of comfortable for the time. Nice to play the music until calm the passengers down. Now this is interesting. We see Edith Russell here. She was going back into her room to get her lucky pig. Now this plays a part in the Titanic disaster as well. It was because that she had that lucky pig with her when she survived a car accident, and because it was her mother that gave her this, it was like a kind of mechanical musical toy pig, and she looked at it as it was her mother calling her. Every time that there was something that it was her mother calling her. That she would go where that pig went.
Yeah. That makes sense, man.
Yeah. And actually, it was a kind of paper mache pig for the kind of, and it was like very It was like a You know how you get these mechanical things with the kind of the old pianos that had the kind of musical tones to it and all that, and the keys and all that, and you just wound it up and it would go around the keys and all that, and that's exactly what it kind of was. And I believe that there was a museum that had it, and they had restored it and restored the music.
Ah, nice.
So she played that for the children in the boat to keep them calm. You can see them starting to get anxious.
I would have let her fall in.
Yeah, but that's quite true to what would have happened. I mean, a lot of the women would be hysterical. The fact of losing their husbands and losing their lives. There's some of the third class been saved. And because he's the male steerage, he'll be going down with the ship. And this is another sad thing. These are the two newlyweds, as we saw in the beginning of the film. And I mean, they're going to start a new life. But imagine you're in one of these wee boats and it's out in the middle of the ocean and nothing for miles, nothing can save you or anything like that. And
I know.
they're taking a
would be
risk.
fine, and you're literally in the middle of the ocean. There's nothing you can
Yeah.
fucking do.
No.
Nothing you can do. It's like,
And that's what they gave the reason for why they were launching the boats half full. Because of the fact that they didn't know that the system could actually break and they could lose more people. You see, he's almost paralytic.
I know. And
And
this
he's falling
really
about.
happened, though. This is the thing. This fella was piss drunk and he managed to fucking survive. Like, what? I just don't get it, man. Of all the people, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to survive. Of course he does, but I mean, he got so fucking drunk. And then he just probably said he was that drunk and he just probably said, fuck it. I'm
You
going
see
to
the
give it a
water's
go.
coming in.
But look how close he was. Look.
Yeah. There's the Strausses.
Yeah.
That's another thing that gets to you.
Oh, man. I
I
did
know.
love that couple because they literally wouldn't stay away from each other.
I mean, they just made a decision there and then and let everybody else go, and they went back to their room, and then the ship sank. I mean, You see, they believe that there's room in the boats for everybody. Now, Benjamin Guggenheim didn't want to wear a life vest, life preserver, because he wanted to go down like a gentleman. He wanted to be dressed in his best. Some of the third class are getting on a boat. It's when they realise that there is ways that they could take. I mean, and yeah, this probably did happen. They probably did have pistols to kind of quiet down the crowds. And there's something interesting about this Titanic set they have. I mean, Titanic never had a kind of curved wheelhouse. I mean, the curved wheelhouse was in the Olympic. So I don't know if they used parts of, maybe existing parts of the Olympic for this.
They could have.
You know, parts that were not destroyed or completely destroyed. I mean, they could have used it for this.
Still playing the music.
Yep. And then when they decide to let the women
It's
in
too
charge
late
run
for
out,
most of them, yeah.
it's too late because all the boats have gone. You see them coming out the stern. Now he's going back for his drink. No, can't go back. He's got to go. And actually, this was a whole set they had actually built, and they had it tilting. And because of the creaking that the set had made, they had kept that in the film because it gave a good kind of sound effect to the kind of
Yeah.
breaking up of the ship. You see, Bruce Ismay is trying to help passengers on.
Yeah.
And he's trying to do his best because I think at that point that when he realises that ship's going to sink and there's going to be a lot of lives lost, I mean, he's going to try his best to save as much people as he possibly can. I mean, even some men wrote letters and sent them to the passengers to take to post them. I mean, they knew about the position they were in.
Yeah, you can tell he knows that yeah. I say at that stage he was feeling guilty.
And then he gets in a boat. I think he actually got in a boat because he realised that his death would add to more death. So he kind of said he saw that there was a wee bit there, and he decided just to get in the boat. So they realised at this point that there was no chance. You can see the clock in there, it's 10 to 2. And the ship sank at 2:20. And he's looking at the clock.
He knows it's too late. He knows, but he's still gonna try get there. That was the thing. But here's the panic now.
Yeah. It's when the ship started to sink a wee bit more lower, they started to panic. And then that's when they had to use the guns. to kind of restore order. But they didn't shoot the passengers. They didn't shoot them. But whatever happened in the James Cameron movie, it was very exaggerated.
Try telling people not to panic when you can see the water is about to.
Yeah,
It's human nature, I think.
yeah. But when there wasn't people getting onto lifeboats, I mean, they just went to the stern when there wasn't any lifeboats left, thinking the ship would they survive long enough. It was rumoured that Captain Smith was calling the boats back for more passengers to get onto them. You know how they were launched half full, so Captain Smith had called them out, tried to call them out, but they didn't want to go back because the ship sank suddenly and pulled them down. And they're going for the collapsible boats. The only inaccurate thing I can think about in this film is the music here that they were playing.
Yeah. This is it now.
Yep. It was Benjamin Guggenheim.
See, that's what it was for some men, though. You know, it
Yeah.
mattered how they reacted. And they
Yeah.
didn't want their wives to believe that the last moments that they were basically scared and frightened you know, even though they would have been scared and frightened, you know?
It's a classic scene of where Thomas Andrews is at the fireplace.
Yeah.
You know, that painting and the clock. I mean, all those clocks were actually fastened down because of high seas and all that. You know, you can see it's not falling off. I would say that he looks more like Thomas Andrews than Victor Garber does in the James Cameron. I mean, the James Cameron one's got inaccuracies, quite a lot more inaccuracies than this. But as you said, the James Cameron film was more of for the love story of getting them introduced to Titanic again in the first place. A modern day audience.
Oh, there's a Superman tonight.
Yeah, I tried to get my telescope out last night, but I just couldn't set it up properly, and it was kind of clouding over. But if
There'll also be an eclipse as well.
yeah,
Damn.
and if it's clouded over, I'll not be able to see it.
Well, in Ireland, it's still fucking sunny here. So, like, I mean, we won't get the fucking moon till later. I'm hoping, because in Ireland, anytime there's a super moon or a blood moon, there's never fucking, there's always cloud cover. We never get to fucking see one.
I get pissed off with that. I mean, when you can't see something like that. I mean, I managed to see the solar eclipse in 1999. And that's I'm starting to run up to the stern. Jonathan Phillips and Harold Bride just tapping it out to the last, and Captain Smith gives the orders to do no more, but they just keep going on. They keep persevering in case someone can hear them. And Jonathan Phillips died in the Titanic.
Yeah.
Harold Bride
stayed until the last minute. He did, didn't he?
Harold Bride got frostbite to his feet, and he had to get his feet all bandaged up because they had frostbite, and he was on a crutch. I mean, I could believe that could have happened. I mean, if someone was trying to steal their life jackets, I believe that could have happened. You can see the bow flooding. But in the real Titanic, what they tried to do with the starboard collapsible is they tried to hook it into the davits to kind of lower it, But
Mm.
it was kind of a bit too late at that point when the ship went down. I mean, they had to kind of cut that. Oh, this is a sad scene here. The wee boy's looking for his mummy.
Yeah, and the old man picks him up,
Yeah,
and they go down with the ship. It's
yeah.
fucking heartbreaking, man.
I know.
Jump at this stage, you would. You know, you've got a 80% chance of dying, but you take that 20% right now. You would.
I mean, they're even throwing them out themselves and jumping into the sea and everything like that. But the problem is the water is so cold, and they're just going to last minutes. I mean, the stunts are really good for this film. They really are. And this is Wallace Hartley with his violin. And he starts off with a Nearer My God to Thee. And this is a different version of Nearer My God to Thee, the music here. And then Captain Smith knows it's the end for him. There's been a big debate about the last song on the Titanic being Nearer My God to Thee, because Harold the Bride, when he came off the Titanic at the last minute, I mean, when he came off, it was autumn. They were playing, but again, they could have played that at the last minute.
Mm.
I mean, I would like to see a Titanic movie done properly. I mean,
It will eventually. Look, they'll. This is such an iconic ship that there will be another Titanic movie.
Yeah.
There will be. I mean, they're still making Titanic shows, as you've seen over the years. So there will. They'll
Yeah.
do a movie. They'll get it all when they know all the information, which they do now, and it'll be a great movie. But did he really have to go down with the ship, or did he just decide to go down with the ship because there'll be too many questions asked of him?
In the 1996 TV movie, the one with Catherine Zeta-Jones, I mean, George C. Scott's version of Captain Smith had him open up a locket with his wife and his daughter. You know, he looked back at that as the ship was sinking.
Good idea what he was doing there. Wood floats in water.
Yeah. You know, I think what they could have done is they could have made makeshift lifeboats, as they didn't have enough. I mean, the arrogance that they had to kind of keep that ship perfect. I mean, because of White Star Line regulations and all that. I mean, they could have made a makeshift lifeboat from one of the covers from the forward hatches and all that. They could have took the cover off the hatch of the stern and all that, and they could have launched it into the sea and put people into it. You know, there's so many things that they could have actually done to save more lives. You know, take tactical measures, but they didn't. They just they just let it go. I think that when something like that happens, you don't think critically. That's a bit. I mean, they've got the right idea of the water ripping through the ship like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be a lot of fighting just to get to the back of the stern anyway. And the lights go out.
As I said, the effects are very good for the time.
Yeah, they are. I see he's trying to protect that child. I mean, they're fighting to kind of hold on at that point, and the ship's tilting even further. You can see he's holding on. Now, the passenger's testimony was that after the ship had disappeared, I mean, it was the screams that they heard of the people in the water.
Yeah, and then after a while it just went silent.
Yeah. And say the screams lasted, stayed with some of the survivors and throughout their lives until they died. You know, they had that experience in their dreams and that, and you know, that experience of that it stayed with them for all their lives, throughout their life. And most of the passengers wouldn't even talk about the Titanic disaster, while
Yeah.
others would. You know, and there's no survivors left of the Titanic now. The last survivor of the Titanic was a baby called Malvina Dean. She was the last survivor, and she died in 2009. So the passengers at the boats at that point didn't know what to do. They just sat there in the boats and they just waited. So someone would have basically known by a compass that what positions they were and what position the Carpathia would arrive to meet them at. You know, they did actually row the boats away. I mean, at that point, the people were just dying. They were drowning and dying. You can see the Californian still sitting there. The actual ship sank at 2:20 a.m.
Mm.
on the night of April 15th, 1912. And even on the wreck, they found watches and clocks. I mean, with the time that the ship had sank, and the watch stopped at the time that it sank. So they actually had to wait another hour for the
Mm.
Carpathia to arrive. So Kenneth Moore is playing the second officer, Charles Lightoller, which actually Lightoller was Welsh. So he wasn't. He didn't have that accent, so he was Welsh. So the collapsible boat, the overturned boat, is quite accurate to the actual disaster. As you could see from pictures, you can see that the encounter the Carpathia had with the boats. You can see the overturned boats, and one collapsible was flooded. And the boats that were filled with people were one of them was actually flooding because there was a Titanic survivor called Edith Russell who was on board. Claimed that our boat was leaking water. You can see here that she's got the musical pig and she's playing it just to try and keep everybody calm. The Carpathia is at the iceberg. Actually, they did have food in the lifeboats. The lifeboats were filled with bread and biscuits. And I mean, there was a Titanic survivor that kept a biscuit, and I think the biscuit went to auction. I don't know how much it made in auction, but the biscuit is still surviving today. It's like one of these kind of, like the crackers you get. His pal died. I mean, it must have been so difficult for them just to kind of, like all at once in a whole night, witness all that. I see Lightollers describing that he was in sea events and disasters. This is actual footage of the Carpathia. The survivors are. You can see that the mass aboard the Carpathia. I mean that it still hasn't struck them really. I mean with all the events that's taken the place throughout the night. I mean a lot of the passengers are still in shock for what they've seen and what they've heard, with the cries of the dead and dying. You can see that Kenneth Moore is with Captain Rostron here, and they're aboard the Carpathia. But it was not up until the Mackay Bennett, the cable ship Mackay Bennett, for picking up the rest of the Titanic's dead that were on the surface of the water a week later. You can see deck chairs floating in the water, life jackets. And a wee baby's cot.
Right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give a rating because I've literally got 10 minutes left and I'm definitely leaving because of the big
Right.
fine. So I'll get you to give your rating, but that is still to this day one of the best.
It's one of the best films. I still enjoy it today. It was the first film I ever saw, the Titanic. I will give it a 10 out of 10.
Fantastic. And I gotta give it a 10 out of 10 as well because I prefer this over the James Cameron movie. Great movie. There's some sad moments in it, but yeah, great movie overall. Stellar cast, and as Super John said earlier, some have appeared in Doctor Who, which was quite good as well. But listen, that's it. We're done. That's a night to remember. Don't forget to vote in the poll for either the Goonies or Short Circuit. Right now, the Goonies is winning, so I say more than likely it will be the Goonies, but I'll let you know on the Tuesday. That has been raised the Titanic.
Raised it.
In my head again. That has been a night to remember. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I want to thank my co-host for this evening. But just before we go, we did get a super chat off Patrick Mooson last night. And because it was a pre-record, I couldn't read it out live. So where is it? I did save it. I think it was a $5 super chat, and it was make Doctor Who great again. Make Doctor Who great again. So I just want to say thank you for that super chat, and thank you for everybody that has popped in and out. Really do appreciate it, and we will see you next Wednesday for as I said, whatever the movie's going to be. More than likely, it is going to be the Goonies because it is a
I
classic.
mean, the Goonies is it's one of my childhood films. I really loved that as a kid.
Right, I'm gonna go before because I'm getting distracted. I'm trying to do something else as well. She always does it.
Teddy has 2 new videos.
So what? Who gives a crap if he has 2 new videos? Nobody gives a crap about
Oh my
Ted.
gosh, you are
Right.
such a naggy
No,
bastard.
nobody gives a crap about the dog. These all give a crap about the dog. I'm only
Everybody
messing.
gives a crap
There's
about
2 new videos on Teddy Terrier Tales. Go and check them out before she has a bleeding fit. All right. I'll talk to you tomorrow. No, tomorrow's Thursday. I'll talk to you on Friday. Have a good one. I'll see you
Good
soon.
night.
Thanks, Don, for joining me. And myself,
No worries.
we'll be here next week and the weekend for Classic Hill as well. So I'll leave you with the channel trailer. Good night, folks. I'll talk to you very, very soon.
Good night, all.